and she reached out to me like earlier this year saying like, hey, if you're up for it, we'd love to fly you out and book your stay so you could attend the event and have a speech there and all that. So I was able to make it work, and I just drove up there, and I just got back yesterday, so I'm in San Francisco now for a couple more days, and then I'm gonna head to St. Louis to go be with First Form and train all summer with my trainer there, skate, and get the next season ready.
That's amazing. What part of Oregon were you up at?
I was in Klamath Falls, so it was pretty sweet because they ended up taking me the next day after the event. They took me to Crater Lake, so it was pretty dope to be able to see a cool place like that. Since I'm from France, I love being able to explore some more of the U.S.
That's so cool. So before we get started here, why don't you just give us a brief introduction of who you are and kind of your story up until ACHA hockey?
Sounds good. All right, so my name's Louis Chaix. I'm 25. I was born in Paris. I live on the West Coast in France. I've been playing hockey ever since I was 4. I had to stop playing hockey a couple of years after I started because I got diagnosed with an extremely rare skin disease, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. And then when I was 11, I moved out of my house to go play in a better hockey program in France up until I was 14. When I was 14, I left on my own from France to go play high school hockey in Quebec City. Played there for 2 years. Then I played in Toronto. I played juniors in El Paso, Texas, and Boston. I committed to play NCAA D3 for 2 years, and then I transferred to Mo State.
Very cool. What'd you think of ACHA hockey before you came, and what was your impression after you left?
Yeah, so I never really had a bad impression because I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, it's just a silly little league, and like I just wanted to wait and see. And I had a ton of my good buddies I played with in juniors. They were great hockey players. They were playing up there, and I was really glad I made the move. It was a much better environment, the NCAA school and all that, but the atmosphere and just it was not the same. It was just we weren't treated right. The atmosphere in the locker room wasn't the best, at least in my opinion. Up until I got to Acha, and what was cool was that up there it was great hockey, and it's really people that love playing. Like it's true. The guys that play club hockey love the game, and they play because they want to and they get to. And man, the level's right there. When you play the top programs or you're part of top programs, it's the same, if not better than D3 in my opinion. And I mean, we can see it. All these teams competing against NCAA D1 programs, like it's right up there. It's great hockey.
Yeah, and Mo State has always had a good program. I'm a few years older than you, and like all the good hockey players always went and played club down there. One of the biggest perks that they had for the longest time was a rink on or close to campus, and I think that like for so many clubs, that it's like and so many players, they don't have the perk of having an arena as close to like where
Yeah,
you get to live and go to college as Mo State does, and you guys get to have fans
yeah. I
there
mean, my
like packing on Friday and Saturdays.
that's right. My apartment was like 2 minute walk from campus and a 5 minute walk from the rink. It was dope. And I mean, when I played D3, the rink was a 20-minute drive away from campus, and it was a small state rink. Whereas like most state, we had a packed bar in every game, and the fans were awesome. It was a great atmosphere to play there for sure, and that makes a difference. It's part of the experience. And I mean, when you look at college hockey, it's always filled with a ton of people there, and the atmosphere, man, makes it great. It's the people that make the party.
I got my first college point at Mo State on like a Saturday night game. I got an assist
Hell yeah.
back in the day. It was a fun
that's
place. And like all my friends were able to come. It was one of the only places like not only so I'm from Kansas City and I live in Kansas City, and so like a lot of kids from my high school went to Missouri State for a college, and so it was always cool even though I didn't play there, like when we would play them once or twice like in the season, going down there and being able to play in front of my friends. And because it is so close to campus, and
yeah.
it is like geared towards having students come, where you look at like the University of Kansas or Missouri. The reason why they're like second division and third division, in my opinion, is they have to drive like 40 or 50 minutes to be able to get to a rink.
Yeah,
and it's hard to get. You can't get any fans. No
that's
fans
tough.
gonna drive an hour.
Yeah, I mean, all the college kids on Friday, especially Saturday nights, like they would come to the game, they'd have fun, they'd party there, and then they'd go straight downtown, to go out. So for a good college crowd, it's always great. The tickets are pretty cheap, and I mean, you'd had fans make beer towers. It was pretty cool. It was pretty sweet. The people were great there. Really, really glad I made the move. Honestly, looking back, I have no regret in going to play Miacha for sure.
Yeah, I love Mo State. And Springfield's a fun town too. And I think when you went
Oh yeah.
to NCAA, did they allow like hockey houses, like a house
So
of
no,
like all
we
the
I was
players?
going to really
So
we were going to a really small school and it was a first year program. So the first year, all of us, we're all like 21-year-old freshman guys, like we're all together in the dorm. They put us all in the basement of the building. So we had the whole basement to ourselves. And then the second year they put us in the better building. We were in like suites type rooms on campus. But then I think once I left, some guys moved in and did a hockey house, but it was off campus, so they had to drive up there.
yeah, so that's like a huge perk of playing Acha, and I tell guys that all the time is you get most of the time all the hockey players live in a house, and like that living experience is usually a lot more fun as a sophomore or junior or 21 or 22-year-old than the dorms are.
My
So,
my first year at Most State, we had this. There's this apartment complex. There's two big towers, and it was called Bear Towers. And my whole team lived in those. So like the two towers were literally just our team, except maybe two apartment units.
I can
It was
only
pretty
imagine
cool.
the parties.
Oh my
That's cool.
god, it was pretty
So,
wild.
let's talk about after you graduated. Can you give me a little update about your trip and everything?
Yeah. So fun fact is I didn't graduate. Um, Most State really really screwed me over. There's no way to say it. I'm not there to like, talk badly on them or whatever. I'm just here to tell a story. They waited. So when I transferred, they didn't transfer all my credits correctly. Some of them they didn't accept, and then some of them they waited so long to apply them that I ended up being like a month or so out of graduation. And my advisor is like, "Yo, you can't graduate."
Oh, that's
I'm like,
horrible.
"Huh?" I've been here for 2 years. Christmas break before my last semester, before I left for France, you told me I was all set and all good to go. It was all right. And then you wait a month and a half before graduation to tell me I can't graduate. And then they didn't reply on my transcripts right and everything, which dropped my overall GPA, made me lose my financial aid. Then they told me you'll just have to do a semester in the fall and then do your internship for exercise movement science this summer. So I set it up that my journey across America was going to be my internship. So while I was skating across America, I was writing papers every day about it and like submitting all that. And then when I came back in the fall to register for what was supposed to be my last semester, I found out that not only did they fail me on my journey, even though all the work was completed, but also they said that now I had a whole year left to do without financial aid, so I couldn't afford it. I immediately called my coach. I'm like, "Hey, coach, I'm ready to go. I know I told you I only had a semester and I wasn't eligible, but I just found out I have a whole year." And then he told me he had no room for me, even though I got recruited to go there. So it's pretty tough, especially when you finish a journey like that. You're hoping for some kind of stability, and then your whole world just crashes down. So I started my semester without having any money. I couldn't really afford to stay in the US just because it was so expensive and like I can't work as an international student. So then a Friday morning I get a text from a coach in Sweden. He's like, "Hey, we want you to come play for us. You're down." And 2 days later I packed all my stuff, signed the contract, and flew to Sweden and moved. So I
Wow.
still have yet to finish my degree. I just don't have the money to do so right now. So and it's annoying because it's all like gen ed classes that me registered in the wrong classes. So I'm overqualified in my field because I took more classes than needed in the exercise movement science field. But what I need to graduate is like statistics, theater, poetry. Like, bro, I'm so over
Yeah.
it.
No, I get you, and I know that so many other people have such a similar experience, and maybe not at the same college, but especially when it comes down to graduating in the last few courses, and it's crazy because, like, now, like, you're in the real world now, and it's so much
Yeah,
harder to like to go back or do anything, especially when you've already done it, and they're not like transferring things that you already had, or they're making errors,
yeah.
and that's horrible.
Because like if they don't accept it, it's one thing, but like don't wait the month before I graduate to tell me because I could have taken extra classes every semester to be all right.
Right,
But
and it's more and it's a lot about like little stuff like that when they make errors, that things they become out of your control that are like sometimes the worst to handle. But
it's
well,
awful.
tell me a little bit about your trip. That's what originally got me inspired
Mhm.
by you and seeing your story, and I'm sure you like that. We'll get to like after this. This isn't keeping you down, is it? Like you, like I know that you've got like you've done a lot since then. Can you tell everybody
Yeah.
like what you've been up to since then? Since it does seem like that's a lot like going on in your life right now.
Yeah. So basically, I in 2020, after I graduated from Mo State, a month after moving there, I was in a great place in my life, and I just had a hard time because I felt a lot of survivor's guilt. I survived an extremely rare skin disease called Steven Johnson syndrome. I had the higher branch of that called toxic epidermal necrolysis. And so basically, I was burnt to the second degree on over 80% of my body, while my organs and inside my body was also burning.
Wow.
So I wasn't supposed to survive. I had a near death experience. But I promised myself that one day I'd play hockey in North America, and I told my family that. And that really helped me move through that. So in 2020, I was in a great place in my life, and I'm just skating around campus with my teammates, with my best friend Garrett. And I don't know. I look at him. I'm like, dude, it'd be insane to skate across America. Like, seriously, it'd be so cool. And he's like, dude, it'd be awesome, but you can't do that. Like, come on, bro, you can't do that. So then I'm like, okay. I get home and I'm like, I'm showering and I can't get this thought out of my mind. I'm telling myself, Louis, you need to do this. It's wild. And I wasn't gonna do it just to do it and be like, hey, look at me, I'm skating across the country. Like, that's just not who I am. I needed a purpose. And then because you get so familiar with your story and the things you go through in life, I was like, hey, you survived a really rare skin disease and you never got the chance to get involved and give back. Why don't you do it for that and raise awareness and funds for research and show people that things can get better? And I was like, damn, you're onto something. So then I created a team. I got in touch with producers from LA who filmed everything. We're currently creating a documentary about it for movie theaters, movie festivals, Netflix, Hulu, and all that stuff. And then, yeah, in June 1st, 2022 is when I started from Venice Beach, California, all the way to Times Square, New York City. I covered 2,900 miles in 45 days. I was able to set a world record doing that. We raised about $10,000 for research. And then once the documentary comes out, some profits of the documentary will be given to the organization at Vanderbilt University for research. So after I did my journey, all that stuff with school happened. I ended up moving to Sweden. And for the past like 2, 3 years, I was really trying to get with First Form. I was doing everything I could to, show them my purpose, why I was doing it, and how aligned I was with their brand and what they do. And I moved to Sweden October 5th. My birthday was October 10th, and then the night of October 12th to 13th is when I found out I became a First Form athlete. I was literally staying at my apartment in Sweden. I just got there. They were waiting to like set me up better with my living situation. So I was literally sleeping in a closet. Like a single bed could barely fit in there. I didn't have an outlet to plug my phone or anything. I'm just asleep and my phone starts going off in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh great, like my account got hacked or something. And I see it's a First Form account, and I'm like, okay, well, is it one of those bots account that sometimes comment on my page or whatever? And then I see a video, and it's Sal Frisella. Here's our new athletes, blah 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 blah. Louis Chaix, dude. I jumped up. I woke up my whole apartment. I'm like, oh my god, I couldn't believe it. So then I was freaking out for a while. I called my parents. They couldn't believe it either. I was so fired up. I ended up going on a run in the middle of the night because like I don't know. I didn't know what to do with myself. Um, it was great. It's it's really rewarding because it's a great recognition. It's a great title, but then again, I always tell people you don't need the title first form athlete to be a first form athlete. And what I'm saying is like when you really do things the right way and for the right reasons, good things come out no matter what it is. If you want to be a first form athlete, don't wait to have that title, but just showcase that you're one in your day-to-day interactions with yourself, but with others too. And truly, that's how it worked out for me. It was a lot of work. It was a long process. But when you stick with it and you things are the right reasons, it comes through. And then it was great. Gave me a lot of confidence heading into my season and did my pro season. And that ended. I went to France, spent some time with my family. Now I'm back in the US to attend the event I just went to, and then going to St. Louis within a week or so. I'm going to be training there. I'm going to be at First Form Summer Smash. And then we have a week of filming left to do for my documentary, a couple interviews and filler shots that we need to get, and then we'll be good to go. So now I'm just training for hockey, waiting to get a contract. So far, I'm invited to go to the training camp of in the second division in France, near Paris. So it's great. Really thankful for the opportunity. It's great because it allows me to really not knowing that I have a spot for sure fires me up because I can't get complacent with my preparation, and that really makes me want to be like even better and take it even more seriously. So yeah, other than that, just gonna keep exploring options if I can get anything else. But for now, that's where I'm at.
I'm so incredibly like inspired and motivated by your story, and so like thank you not only for sharing that, but like where did you find this strength? Like this is a lot. Like you like is it something you've always had? Like obviously moving away from home and like
Mhm.
moving away for hockey is like difficult in itself. Like you said you had like that voice like kind of speak to you and tell you with that idea. Like most people nowadays would have like given up like
Yeah,
at the start of your journey. Like where does like your strength come from, man? Like this is
that's
I'm
I
so
really
inspired.
appreciate that. That's a great question, and a lot of people ask me that. But although a lot of people think there's a secret recipe for success and to be this way, there truly isn't. It's really a choice that we make. And that's what I really try to show people is that I am no different than anybody else. Like I am no different than you, than somebody, like nobody else. And I think almost losing my life at a very young age kind of showed me that, and making it through also kind of showed me that I get to be here. I get to be alive. I get to have all these ideas and these opportunities, and I get to create them for myself also. And it's really one of those things where when you want to do something and it's important to you, you'll find a way. In my life, I hear a lot of people tell me, oh, one day I want to do this, or, I want to do that next season, or I want to go play there. And then I just look at them and their actions in their day to day life, and it goes the opposite way of what they tell me they want. So then I'm like, you don't want to do that. You think you want to do that. You like the idea of accomplishing these things. But when it comes to actually putting in the work and being honest with yourself, you're not there. My biggest advice, honestly, is just to get started. And like, worst comes to worst, it's not going to work out, but you'll have learned a lot about yourself and you'll have made it much further than if you just sat back and waited for somebody else to do it. We get to be alive. We get to, I mean, life's good. That's what I think about. Like when things go wrong, it can only go wrong for so long. You got to detach yourself because that situation's not going to go away anyways. So you might as well figure it out, put your foot down and move forward. That's all we can do. I survived. I get to be healthy, and that's the least I could do. I think about all these people in hospital every day, or these people in other countries that are not fortunate at all. They're living in horrible conditions, and yet they still have a smile on their faces. Like, who am I to complain and not take advantage of these opportunities? So, yeah, it's just a matter of appreciating what I have and what's in front of me.
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about what's it like playing in Europe versus North America, playing hockey in Europe
Oh
versus North
man,
America?
Yeah. So I got to Sweden and had a great start of my season. I had like 9 points in 6 games. It was going really well. And I don't pretend to be like a skill guy, like goal scorer, like points guy. That's not me, and I know that. But I was so prepared and like confident in my game that I was playing really well, and I was really excited. And then I was put in a much more defensive role, which kind of shut down certain opportunities for me. He created some other ones for, you know, my defensive game and all that, but offensively really shut me down, which was hard because it's one of those situations where you don't always understand. You put your best effort and you're committed to it, but some things are out of your control. It's a team sport. At the end of the day, you rely on the coach, you rely on teammates. So like you got to control what you can control. So when I got to Sweden, I had a lot of success with my physicality because they're not used to that at all. When I tell you, like, they are not used to it, it was just wild. So it was to my advantage, but the problem was that we played 6 teams in my division because I was north of Sweden, and we had the same like 2, 3 refs every game. So once they saw that I was the physical, like bully kind of guy on the ice, they really shut me down bad. When I got 124 penalty minutes in 32 games, dude.
And you're like, I'm not even physical or dirty.
I'm not even doing anything. It was
You
wild. Like
goon.
what my craziest stories, like I come in, my buddy changes, so I go on the ice. The puck is in the offensive zone. My buddy's on the forecheck, trips the guy, he falls down, the ref turns around. I'm at the red line. The puck's in the corner. The ref looks at me, he gives me the tripping penalty. I was like, I can't win. So it was great. It was a different style of play, much more space, not as many hits, but when there's hits, they're really hard because you can catch up so much speed. And there was so many dirty plays because you can't fight. I had guys like kick me and my teammates with their skates, and like I'm like, dude, you do half of that in North America, your head is chopped off. Like,
That's insane.
so it was. I'm really thankful for the experience. It was great. Definitely had to adjust. So I'm curious to see if I play another league in Europe next year, or what it's going to look like in terms of physicality and all that. I don't know. It's just one of those things where, to me, hockey should remain hockey. Fighting should be a thing in hockey. Keeps everybody accountable, and that physicality, people enjoy it. I mean, going in an NHL rink has half the people what they come watch a hockey game. It's for the hits and the fights. Now there's much more to it than the game, and there's a lot of reasons why that happens. But you shouldn't change the sport, I don't think. And it's been definitely an adjusting like period for me. It's cool though. Like I mean, with the fans too, they bring like big drums and flags, and it's like the ultra soccer fans. It was a really cool experience for that.
Yeah, did you go to any cool barns that had like a cool hooligan atmosphere, like flares or light
Yeah,
shows or anything?
I went to see an Allsvenskan game, which is right under the SHL in Sweden, and I went to watch Östersund against Mudu, and the Mudu fans were crazy, dude. Like they had a whole section blocked off. They were literally caged in, and just like soccer games with the scarves and the flares and the flags and the drums. It was great. It was a really cool experience.
I like the one thing I like about Sweden is now that I've become a coach, I like the Swedish development model. I don't know if you know anything about it, but like they're much more centered on for like the first 12 years of playing, it's about individual skill work and being a really good skater and stick handler and situational and whereas the American development model is like right away it's all 3-on-3 small ice games and like the Canadian model is the same way. It's a lot more like game playing right away. Whereas like I think that Sweden has overtaken like the fine motor individual skill like crown for hockey. I don't know. Did you encounter any like weirdly skilled, amazingly skilled stick handlers or anything in Sweden?
Dude, there's a ton. So what was cool is that the rink was open all day long. So we could get on the ice anytime we wanted, which was great for us imports that weren't working. We could just go on the ice whenever. and they had skill skate sessions and stuff like that. And then the kids that are in school, instead of having like stupid phys ed classes, they go play hockey, and they have like 1 to 2 hour long skill practices every day from the moment they start till like they're 18, even our age, 20, 25. Like, and you see it. I mean, I've seen some like 16, 15-year-old kids that were drafted in the NHL, and they're like, bro, it's like I've never seen anything like it. They're super skilled. It's really cool. I mean, the way they develop them and give them opportunities to be on the ice and really work on their strength and their weaknesses is really cool. Now it's a much different game in the US. Like, it's so different.
What about hockey in France? Have you, when was the last time you played hockey in France, or do you have any impressions about French hockey players? Like, what are some
Yeah.
stigmas you encounter as a French hockey player playing in Europe?
Yeah. Well, I haven't played in France ever since I was 13, 14 years old. The pro level in France is becoming like insanely good. I mean, we see it. There's a couple more NHL players now that are from France, like Texier. That guy is really skilled. There's some really skilled players that play in the top leagues. One of the French players, there's a French player that's been the leading scorer in the KHL for years now, the Costa. Um, I mean, the youth programs are still lacking, I think, in my opinion, just because we don't really have the infrastructures for it. Like, we don't have many rinks. We have maybe one rink per city, where in the US there's like one rink per neighborhood, or Canada, So it's
Yeah.
like it's still a sport that's not really known to the public. But professionally, it's great because, I mean, you look at the top league in France, the Magnus League. There's guys that have played in the NHL that play there now. There's guys that play in the AHL that play there now. Like, there's big names that start coming in, and they're building bigger and bigger rinks. I mean, this one team like an hour away from my place called the Angers Ducks, and dude, they literally have a mini size NHL rink. It's amazing going there. Like, the atmosphere is crazy. The rink is brand new. It's a giant bowl. Like, I don't know. It's getting there. And then the top team of that league goes and plays in the CHL, so they get to compete against like the top European teams too. They don't always win, but like, we're there, so I guess it puts us on the map a little bit. And then for me growing up, it's part of the reason why I had to start playing physical, because people wouldn't take me seriously. Like, oh, you're from France, like you guys have hockey there, like, it was one of those things. And to earn my playing time over the years, I had to be willing to do what nobody else wanted to do, and I was fine with it. I mean, when I played in Texas, my coach was like, "Louis, you want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to do the shitty work." I'm like, "Okay, sign me up." I just love the game. I want to be on the ice, and whatever it takes. I get to do it now, and it's not forever, so I might as well enjoy the ride and see what I can do.
So I know you said that you have some media coming out about your trip. Without spoiling it for us and without saying too much, can you just tell me a little bit about your trip and what you went through and kind of the accomplishment?
Yeah, so my preparation for 2 years leading for it was extreme, because, I mean, it's cool to say you're going to do something, but it means nothing if you don't do it. Like, my name and my whole life was on the line for this, and no matter what, I knew that I was going to make it. People often ask me, like, have you ever, like, when you were skating and it was hard, like, did you ever wonder, like, oh man, I can't do this? And I was like, no. I was just like, it was more so like, when am I going to get past that hard point? Like, what's next? What's after that giant mountain? And so anything that could have possibly happened on this trip happened, and none of it we could have prepared for. I mean, I was rollerblading all day long on the highway on the shoulder, like with trucks flying by like 70, 80 miles per hour. I almost got hit by a semi. I jumped over a rattlesnake. I encountered a black bear in the middle of the night in Pennsylvania going uphill. Like, I got chased by sorry, I got a call. I got chased by coyotes, hit by a car. I mean, I was skating in crazy weather. I was skating through the desert. I was the top speed, I went over 70 miles per hour on my skates going downhill. I was literally passing cars because I had no brakes and I just had to go, you know. And it's one of those things where it's sorry, I'm keep getting a
You're
call.
good.
Give me.
You're totally fine. I imagine. I know. I'm taking up a lot of time. This is fascinating to me. I love this.
So yeah, I mean, it was amazing, and for me, the growth that happened in these 45 days was greater than the growth I've gone over the past 5 years. You know, when you're out there on your own, all because I was by myself. I had a crew, so I had an RV that would meet me halfway through the day, so I could have lunch and rest. And then I had a support van that would go every time 15 to 20 miles ahead of me, and I would go meet them, and that's how we would go. And I mean, you're by yourself all day long in the middle of nowhere. You're sitting with your thoughts, and I was skating with no music for safety purposes to hear the cars and the traffic, but also because I wanted to have these conversations with myself, understanding when I was really high and when I was really low, you know, like figuring out what I needed to tell myself and what it took for me to get past that point, and also recognizing that when I was up here, I had to enjoy it and be in the moment because I knew it was about to shift and go south. And it was really special.
So,
All the crazy signs that happened along the way, you know, like I'm stuck in the middle of the desert for like 2, 3 hours and I have no service, I have no more water, like I'm struggling. And then I'm like, dude, like if only a car could drive by and give me a bottle of water or something. Literally 20 seconds later, haven't seen a car in 4 hours, dude. Car comes by, pulls over, gives me two Gatorades and two waters, and I'm like, how? How does that work? You know? And yeah, it was great. I mean, the last 3 days of the journey, I didn't sleep at all. I just wanted to finish. So for 3 days, I had no sleep and I just skated. I would take 2 hour breaks here and there, but I just kept going, skated through the night twice, and I covered over like 300 to 400 miles in less than 3 days. And I got to Times Square. And when I was training, I would often think about that moment. You know, it's really something that would drive me and what it would feel like. And what's interesting is that it felt completely different than what I ever imagined. So I get to the finish line, and obviously I'm excited, I'm happy. But the first thought I got was, "Fuck, what do I do now? Like, what's next?" And it's been hard for me to process because I don't really understand what I accomplished with it. Because when you travel, you're in a car, you're in an airplane, you're in a train, but I was on my 2 feet. So in order to comprehend that, it's been really hard, and you're so focused that your memory only retains so much. That's why I'm excited for this documentary to come out because I think then I'll be able to really understand. And I've also realized that it was never about the starting point and the ending point of the journey, because that's okay if I don't comprehend these 2 days. What's important is what's in between, kind of like life, you know. It doesn't matter when you were born or when you die. What matters is in between. So nowadays, you know, I often say, like, you know what, like I have lived and I'm living an amazing life that I'm really thankful for. And not that I wish that, but if I was to go tomorrow, I can sit down and be like, man, I did everything I've ever wanted in this life. And I want more people to feel like that because it is all up to us. There's a lot that obviously people can help you, and a lot of things are out of our control, but we have so much more power of our circumstances in our lives than we think. And that's really what I want to show people. And my journey was geared towards the disease and all that, obviously, but it was also to show, like, you know, the kid in college that doesn't know what he wants to do, or the person that's been in marriage all their life and they're miserable and they don't know what to do, like that it's possible to write your story, you know, like we get to write our own stories. And yeah, if that can help at least one person with it, then my mission's complete.
I know that your story is so powerful, so I know people are going to be, impacted by it, and I can't wait to see everything that comes out from your journey. What's a good way for everybody that wants to like support you to not only follow you but support you?
Yeah, that's I appreciate that. You know, being in the US is tough because I obviously I only have like a visitor visa, so I can't legally work and all that. I'm working. You know, what's frustrating is I've lived in the US more than I've lived in France almost, and I'm still not considered like a citizen or permanent resident. I'm trying to get a green card and stuff, but that's whole process. So I guess for now, like it goes a really long way when people like interact with me on Instagram, follow what I'm doing, and really get to know the story, but also connect with me so I can understand theirs. We all have a story to tell, and I think it's important for people to share their stories more because although we all live very different lives, we're all very similar. We all deal with the same things, you know, in a way and another. So for me right now, yeah, it's like, you know, I'm working with First Form. I can help people. I train people. I coach people. You know, I'm helping this girl right now. She just lost over 30 pounds in like 4 or 5 months, and like I this is what I want to do. I want to help people change their lives. And, you know, I have a Facebook group that people can join for free. I have links with First Form. If people have questions about any supplements, you know, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help with that. You know, it's more than just supplements. It's genuinely helping people get real results. And yeah, just being involved. You know, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm super easy to get in touch with. So if I can help in any way, I'm just happy to help, and that's a great way to help me out. So
And what are your socials on Instagram and Facebook?
yeah, so it's at Louis Shakes, LOUISCHAIX, and it's the same thing on Facebook, all social media platforms. So that's where you guys can find me. You can see more about the journey on there, my training, hockey, everything. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting. Not only has it been like inspiring, like watching everything leading up to now, but like talking to you for just a few moments. Like, I'm excited to see the documentary and like having a network, a networking opportunity with you and continuing
Of
to
course.
talk with you. Because not only do I love your like story and everything that you're doing, but it's like such a powerful message. Like, there's so many people like us that are going through things. I'm a minor professional hockey player myself too, and so like everybody has a story, and so I love
Where do you
connecting
play?
with guys. So I play in the Fed. I didn't play anywhere last year. I played with Mentor during the pandemic or after the pandemic. I went to camp at in the SPHL with the Vermilion Bobcats at the start of last season. They folded halfway through the year. I didn't find a place to play, and so I just keep playing. And I always hit up teams that are looking for opportunities at the middle, end of the year, weekend or
Yeah, yeah.
two, and try and snag a game. So
Let me
I'm
know when
also
you end up going, because then it'd be dope if we could play together, dude. That'd be amazing.
so,
I did a training camp with the Quad City Storm last year.
so I almost went to that one. It was between that was the same weekend as the one I went to, the one in VC. So that's crazy. I should have gone to the
Damn.
Quad City one with you, and we would have connected. And so small
Yeah.
world.
But
Do you have
one
it?
thing I wanted. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, no. Say no. Go.
Because I saw like the shirts you've made and stuff, and I wanted to say there's something that I truly believe in and that really touched me is like more than a hockey player.
Yeah,
That to me, like the first time I saw it, I remember I sat down and I'm like, oh, that's a powerful one because when you play all your life and you work towards a dream, towards a goal, it becomes your reality. It shapes you into who you are. But the thing is, like, especially when I had no team or when I couldn't like really figure it out, like it's hard sometimes to find your own identity because when hockey's taken away from you. And seeing that and seeing that, you know, you also had that mindset of like, you know, yes, I'm a hockey player, but I'm also so much more than that. That made me feel like I wasn't alone and I was understood. And it's very important. I think it's a really powerful message because I often think about it. What's my life going to look like the day I'm not playing hockey? Like, it's going to be weird telling people I'm not a hockey player anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's scary.
yeah.
And to see that, you know, that's something you've thought about and you try to put out there, it's truly inspiring. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. And again, it speaks to like stories like yours that sometimes we can get caught up in our own like identities of like hockey players, or even like looking at other people that maybe are in different life situations and seeing something like your story and understanding like, oh, this is bigger than hockey. This is bigger than the game. This is more than a hockey player here. This is, you know,
Yeah.
this is cool, and so I'm glad that that resonated too, and I can't wait
Oh
for
yeah.
your stuff to come out because I've
Appreciate
everybody
it.
that I've shared your journey with has been like, one, whoa, this is amazing, and two, like, can you believe this? I couldn't do this, you know. So, hey, I
Of
appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. Let's
course. Thank you.
reconnect here in the future. Good luck this summer, and I'm gonna
Thank
have
you,
everybody
brother.
hop over to your page and make sure they support you as well.
Sounds good. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.